welcome back to 20 games in 30 days. This is day 2, game 2. Take slightly more than 2, but that's okay. We are on Breakout. So this is the second game that I'm making, and it was a fairly early game as well in arcade history. This series isn't exactly following the history of any particular company, or is not necessarily going to stay in the arcade, but I am kind of walking through history because a lot of the earliest games are also the easiest to make at the beginning. I will be getting quite a bit more advanced as we go. I'd like to make a simple first person shooter, 3D at some point near the end of the series, but we're starting at the beginning, so we're here with Breakout. And Breakout was a interesting game. It was created by Atari and the same creators of Pong. What happened is after Pong was created, it was a smash hit. Everyone loved it, but there were tons and tons of companies making clones. So much that there was actually a minor video game recession in 1977, where all the Pong clone companies started dying out because people finally got sick of this one game, and a lot of people thought the arcade industry, at least in America, was going to be done at this point as well. As we know, that didn't happen. Atari decided that instead of trying to fight a losing legal battle and getting rights for their game, they would just go and try to continue making better and more innovative. I can't say that word. So they decided that their strategy was just going to be to innovate and make new and interesting games. And if people come and clone them, those companies won't last long because Atari will hopefully make a name for itself. So some of the guys we talked about last time, Nolan Bushnell in particular, he came up with this idea for a game that started with Pong. So it had the paddle that Pong had, and it had a ball that Pong had. But from there, it would change. So instead of having the second player on the other side, there would be a series of colored bricks. So a little bit of fun trivia I didn't know, but Steve Jobs, yes, that's Steve Jobs, actually got his start working for Atari. What happened is Bushnell came up with the idea for Breakout, but he wanted the help of Steve Wozniak, and Wozniak had created a Pong clone that only used around 30 chips. These games were still before the days of computers. These were not programmed, they were made in hardware. And so Wozniak had made one that was more chips meant lower manufacturing cost, and so it could save the company money as they were making it. So Bushnell reached out to Jobs and convinced him to work with Wozniak, and he said, we will pay you $700 if you guys can make us a prototype of this game, but if you can do it in less than 50 chips, we will give you a bonus per chip. So they went and they did it in 4 nights. Wozniak reportedly stayed up all 4 nights. He was currently working at HP, so he had a job, but he stayed up late and he got it done, and he ended up turning in a prototype that used 44 chips. And the guys at Atari were so impressed that they paid Jobs the $700 as promised, as well as a $5,000 bonus. And so Jobs, of course, sent the split half of the $700 with Wozniak and kept the $5,000 a secret. And it only came up in interviews decades later that they had actually been paid a lot more for the game. So there's a little bit of trivia about early video game history and Breakout, but here we are. This is essentially what our finished game is going to look like. So we've got a paddle, we've got a ball, we've got the arena here, and then we've got a score element and a lives counter. So we're not going to do what they did back in the day and string together a bunch of transistors to make this. Instead, we're going to open up the Godot game engine, and we are going to make Breakout there. So instead of starting from scratch and cloning our template, we're actually going to duplicate Pong and start there. So we're going to rename this to Breakout. That makes more sense. So now we're going to jump in. And here we go. It looks a lot like Pong. We're going to get rid of some of these elements we don't need. We don't need the divider. So here we are. First step is take the player and move it. Size scale is here. So we're just going to change these to 6 and 1. We're going to make that a bit wider. Let's go 8 and 1. There we go. Double it from what it was. Nice and big. We can change that later, but we're going here. And we're going to duplicate him again. And we're just going to move wall 3 way over here. And again, we're just going to clean that up. That would be around 1600. That would be about 450. All right, now we have an arena. I think the ball will, let's see. Okay, but we move up and down. So the next step is to make this move side to side instead of up and down. I don't like those being white when Windows elements are also white. Let's try gray, see how that looks. Oh, that's much better. Okay. Again, the ball, we're going to have to completely change some of this. So it looks like we have the ceiling, floor, and wall checks, which are convenient. We're going to keep using them, but we're going to need to move this around a bit. So the floor is going to be the paddle itself now, and ceilings and walls are everything else, so we're going to bounce off of them. We'll come back and add more functionality for breaking bricks later. For now, we're just going to make sure that the bouncing is slightly fixed. It looks like we are bouncing correctly. Next step will be go in to the paddle. We're going to open this script up. We're going to change these to left and right. And this is going to be velocity.x instead of velocity.y. And we do have something that the paddle can hit. Let's see. Oh, yes, we probably need to define that, don't we? Request for non-existent input map. Yep, that was my mistake. So the step, if we go next, is project settings. While we're here, this project is still called Pong. This is Breakout, the slight modification of Pong. And don't worry, for anyone who thinks that this is too simple of a project, our next one is Space Invaders, which is actually just a slight modification of Breakout. Actually, I don't know if historically that's accurate. I think it's not, but the concept for us is pretty similar based on what Breakout was and what Pong becomes. So next up is input map. I learned the hard way last time. These UI options in Godot cannot be removed. These are used in Engine. I was trying to delete them, and that made more of a mess than was worthwhile. So we're just going to collapse these and leave them as is. But these guys, we're going to go left, layer 1 right, layer 2 left, layer 2 right. All right, we're going to close that one. So now let's give it a shot. We can move. Okay, it looks like we are essentially playing Pong again. One thing I noticed, we'll never need to flip the ball. That function can be removed. We'll need to double check where the game calls that. Yeah. Actually, we're going to remove all of this. we're going to rewrite the game code itself. I'm thinking what I'm going to do. For Pong, it felt great when you could move the ball really quickly side to side. For Breakout, it feels a little weird when you hit right on the edge of the paddle and it goes zinging off at a really high speed. So what I might do for Breakout is normalize the ball speed when it comes off the paddle. So it's always traveling at 600, 800 or whatever. So this doesn't happen because this is just, that doesn't feel fun to play. So we're going to go back to the ball. This is actually pretty easy to do. We're going to go, once velocity x and y is set, we're going to do velocity equals, we're going to first take velocity dot normalized, and then we're going to multiply that by the start speed. Now, we are going to have to come back and fix this because we don't necessarily want to be sticking with the start speed. But for now, this should fix it. So, and now let's go up to 600 because we are always moving at the same speed. Okay, that feels much better. I might mess around with the paddle angle factor a little bit. We're going to go down to 7. Just because when you're off on the edge, that is really far. Yeah, that's better. All right, I'm going to take a 10-minute break and then I will be back and we're going to start adding new stuff to this game. That was a lot easier than starting from scratch. I don't consider that cheating because we made all this already. We just made it yesterday and now we are using it again today. Save your assets. If you're working on stuff, you'll never know what you get to reuse. We are back. And let's see. I will probably cut this out because you know where we left off, but I don't. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, before we add in the bricks, which is the main feature, I'm going to make one more small tweak to this, and that is the way the ball starts. Right now we have the ball appears in the middle of the screen, but if you have played the original Breakout or a Breakout game, the ball usually starts on the paddle. So we need to fix that real quick. Because I think the easiest way to do this is to make this local. I'm going to get rid of the script and all this stuff, and we're just going to have a colored rectangle here. And what I'm going to do is the ball is going to simply be a node 2D, and it's going to just be attached to the player. And when we want to launch a ball, we're going to make this particular ball invisible. So quick hop into project settings. We'll also want a launch button that we can use in a little bit to launch the ball when this one disappears. Let's see, how are we going to do this? Physics process, if input is action pressed. That's what we want. What was that function called? Input. Is action just pressed? Player 1 launch. Of course, the thing that I see wrong with this right now is that we can launch as many balls as we want. Okay. We'll have to fix that, but we can launch a ball now. Ball direction, we will want to start negative start speed because we want start speed to stay positive. So we'll change the direction here. So we're going to test that again real quick. Okay. Oh, that's lovely. All right. Apologies, headphone users. So, the next thing we want to fix is if the ball is already in play, we should not be launching another ball. We are going to use the classic programming trick here of calling a function before it is defined. Player 1, launch ball. And we're going to say ball equals player 1 launch ball. So we're going to simply pass in the ball prefab here. So now we're going to define launch ball var prefab. I don't know why I'm spacing. I do know why. It's because that's what I do at my day job. We're going to stick with Godot semantics here. This returns, I don't remember what that is called. So we're just going to not worry about return type and just make sure that we always return. Godot can be weakly typed. I prefer strongly typed, but when I forget what things are called, I go to weakly typed because laziness wins. We're going to get a prefab instance. Position equals. Okay. We're going to try that. Let's see if this works. For now, we are going to limit it to one ball launched at a time. What we're going to do is we're going to set a flag. This ball will disappear when we launch it, and when the ball falls out of the bottom of the map, we need to actually add in a counter here. We will decrease our ball count, and we will also place the ball back on the paddle. And when we're ready, we'll launch it from the paddle. So the way we're going to do this, we will head into the game over here. Actually, we're going to head into here first. We need to add an area. So just like we did in Pong, area 2D with a, what's it called, collision shape? Look up shape. Yes, collision shape 2D in the area 2D. So this, we are going to lock children. We're going to move it down here. We're going to want to center that a little better. Again, we're 1600, so 800 is exactly half. This is 900. We want it to be outside. We'll do 950. We want it to be large enough that we can't miss the ball. I don't think it would happen, but if it's moving quickly, the physics engine needs to be able to detect an overlap. So just better safe than sorry. We want this to be not super skinny. We want it to be a little larger. Oh, here we go. That's what I'm looking for. Rectangle shape. And we'll just define this here as, did I scale this? Scale is 1. Here. 800? Oh, that makes sense. This is not a side length. This is essentially this equivalent of a radius for the square. It's half of the side length. So there we go. 850. That gives us 1600 by 1000. So this is our area. We're going to call this bottom. Something I noticed when we were playtesting is the ball doesn't make a sound when it bounces off the ceiling. So we probably want to, let me actually go into this ball and double check paddle and wall. Paddle sound, wall sound. Ceiling would be a wall sound. We can add more different beeps and boops as we go if we want, and I might actually change this, or maybe we'll just have the bricks add their own sound. We could do some different octaves. So we play two sounds overlapping. I don't know. We'll play with that for now. Every surface makes a noise. Okay. And that does nothing. I'm going to pull up Pong real quick for reference, double check what we did in there, because we want to repeat this end zone. Yeah, that was pretty simple. So all we did is when the ball enters, this is a body. When body entered, and because the ball's the only body that would ever enter, we don't really need to worry about it. On bottom body entered, sure. Boop. And what we're going to do then is we're going to say ball.queue_free. And then we are going to do our favorite trick again of defining or calling a function before it's defined. So what we want to do here, just to think through, we have this paddle, we have this ball on the paddle that is, it's kind of fake, but that will show us that we are ready to launch the ball. So we want to, we'll call it reset ball. Oh, my fingers can't type tonight. Okay, so we have launch ball and reset ball. And what we're going to do is we're going to say if player one dot can launch. Okay, so now we're going to define all these. We're going to have reset ball and can launch. Then we're going to have a private variable. Reminder from last time, this is shorthand for assign to type of this. So this is a Boolean and will be treated as such. If you're into strongly typing, I prefer strongly typing where we can. So we will say return can launch. Okay, we should underscore actually. Okay, so can launch will return can launch. I could probably do better naming, but this is good enough. The fun thing with these little design challenges is we make one, maybe two games, and then move on. So if this isn't the best code you've ever seen, that's fine. That's why I didn't want them to have the same name. Okay. Okay. Looks like can launch is false, so we cannot launch. Of course, that didn't work the first time. I'm just gonna dig through here a little bit. Hopefully you can figure out what it is, and then we'll jump back in. All right, let's give this a shot. I think we should have one ball in play now. Yep. And there we go. All right. Beautiful. This is a lovely little empty space. However, we don't have a life counter. We will worry about that later. I think the more important thing is we need some colorful bricks to break. Yes, my PowerShell is slightly transparent. Yes, that is probably tacky. Yes, I enjoy it. It's the little things in life. I like my computer looking like we are still living in the early 2000s. So, what are we missing? We are missing bricks. Lots and lots of bricks. So I'm going to do this by taking a wall, duplicating it, moving it, and we are going to rename that to brick. There we go. And then we're going to change the color of this guy to red. I don't like that bright of red. Everything else is a little dull. We'll make the red a little dull too. Yeah, that looks good. Now, let's see. I could just start duplicating, but this would get real messy real quick. I don't know if I want to say right. One way to do it that some would consider the right way would be to create these from code. However, the pattern is always the same. I'm going to call this bricks. I'm going to then add another node 2D, call this row 7, because we are programmers. We index from 0, and there are 8 total. And then we are going to start duplicating bricks. Row 7 is going to have an offset of 100. Bricks will be in the row, Y position of 0. Yeah, we'll do 200. Now we're going to start moving the bricks across. Let's stop here and do some quick mental math. All right, so we have our bricks. They are centered. We got a little cap because I think that looks nice. So now all we're going to do is duplicate the rows vertically. Actually, before we do that, we probably want to make sure that we can break these bricks. Because right now, the bricks are just like walls, which is not what we want. What we want are the bricks to break when we hit them. We'll attach a script to the brick. We're going to want bricks to pass up a signal, and we're going to want to connect those signals to the game itself. Let me think, is there a better way to do that? No, I think that's a good way. We're going to add a brick script. Okay, what we're going to do, we're going to create 2 scripts. We're going to create a script for the individual brick. We will also create a script for the object containing all of the bricks. So this one here. And then what we'll be able to do, so this guy here will also have a script. And what we'll do is when a brick is broken, the script will define its color and value. When the ball hits the brick and the ball detects that it hit a brick, it will send a signal to the brick saying, hey, brick, you broke. Then when the brick breaks, we will send a signal from the brick to this brick controller up here saying, hey, I broke, my color and value is X, and then the brick controller will pass all the way up to the game instance itself to record the score. Yeah, we'll do that first. There might be some more complications as we go, but that seems like a good place to start. All right, so bricks need to break. So we're going to start there. Brick 1 has a script. We would not want a script here. We're going to delete the brick script. I think the best way is for us to register a collision with the ball. Okay, we're looking up how to do this. I may actually need to have some form of script or detection on here after all. So if brick is brick, brick is brick, brick is slide count. If brick is brick, collider is brick. If we're brick, then we can break. Break, brick, break, brick. We can break brick. Because break is a building command. Duh. All right, I am here 3 weeks later. I decided to reshoot a bit of this to show exactly what I did with the benefit of hindsight. Full disclosure, this is my second video I've ever made. I've been struggling with the edit for probably a couple weeks now. I made the mistake of shooting this, the Breakout video, before I finished editing the Pong video. So I learned a ton of lessons and I wasn't able to apply them right away. So I'm excited for video 3. Hopefully it's a lot easier on the editing side. But for now, we're here. I just wanted to thank everyone who's been watching these. I was amazed to see that people subscribed to the first video I ever made. But I am quite new to this. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing. So if you guys have any suggestions on the best way to show off this journey I'm going through, I want to find a balance between being honest and showing my struggles, but also not being boring and not dragging it out. So please leave a comment if you have any thoughts on how to do that best. But what I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to pause the showing it as I'm making mistakes because there's another 2 hours of footage and tons of mistakes. And instead, I'm going to show the final product and what I did, and then I will jump back to some of the footage of me discovering some of the more interesting components of that. But I'm not gonna show every single line of code that I wrote because there's a lot of mistakes there, and it took a lot of time to figure out exactly what I'm doing. But here's the final code for Breakout. So we have, first off, the brick. I named the class. If you know how Godot works, you don't typically name classes. You just build things up and you're extending a whole bunch of classes. But I decided to go ahead and name this one because it gives me the option when a class is named to check the type. So this is the ball script. So the physics process for the ball, it will call this function, which I didn't know I was going to return a value, so it's called break, but now it's returning a value. So if not break, and what that'll do is it will move and slide, and it'll check for a collision. And if it's colliding with another object, and that other object has the collider is of type brick, that means that the ball has collided with one of the bricks on the screen. So if that happens, it will bounce either horizontally or vertically using these wall, ceiling, and floor functions we've used before. It'll play the sound, and it will break the brick. And then it'll return true, meaning it doesn't bounce a second time off the wall or paddle, which is a slightly different logic here. So when it calls that break brick, it goes in here to the brick, and all that'll do, it'll delete the brick and it'll emit a signal. That signal is mapped up. So here's the brick scene. And the brick scene contains a bunch of row objects, each one containing 8 bricks, and there are 8 rows, 64 total. And this all is in this node with the brick script on it. And each one of these is signal mapped up to this signal on the bricks. So it'll subtract the number of bricks left. I got my number wrong, and so this still says 128, but I changed it actually in the scene itself. So we have 64 bricks, not 128, but we'll subtract our count, which will then either tell us that the last brick broke or the brick broke. And that then will pass up to the game script, which I will probably show this in real time because there was a lot less trouble on figuring out the game script versus figuring out the other part of some of these score elements and things. But here are these two. When we are creating a new set of bricks for a new level, we'll map those functions, and then they'll call in here, and we'll either add our score, which calls the score function that I'll write later, and we will get rid of the ball and end the level. 15, 50, 115, 150, 215, 250, 315, 350. Okay, that's much better. Let's see how this looks. I'm fine with that. It clearly registered collision. It seems like it may not have registered the second collision. So we're just gonna, without fully understanding that bug, we're gonna try to fix it and see if what we do works. Okay. This little bit of weirdness comes from Godot's physics engine. What seems to be happening is we are breaking multiple bricks within. You know what? I changed my mind. We're not going to color them here. And then we're going to color ourselves based on that. We don't need to pass that in because colors are an aesthetic thing, but it makes more sense to just go and open up the two rows. Okay, they're white. Row 7 and row 6. And we'll say our color is this lovely shade of red. We're going to color picker this. That color of red. Okay. And now we're going to say row 4 and 5. The color is a lovely shade of orange. I think I like that. Okay. 1 and 2. A lovely shade of green. Fairly dark. And rows 0 and 1. Beautiful shade of yellow. There we go. So this will color them when the game starts. Okay. And Mr. Row. That's Row. Remember that bug that we ignored earlier? Yep, it's gonna take me a good while to find it, but it turns out this is what was going wrong the whole time. This is in row 2. That should not be row 2. Oh, that's what happened. There's an extra row 2. Well, that would explain something. Is that what caused my weirdness? Let's go back here. Let's do this again and see if we still have. Well, that makes it easier. I think I just had 2. We got the ball breaking bricks, we got the paddles. The next thing we need to do is we need to score these bricks. So we're in row 7. We're in row 6. We're in row 5. We're in row 4. We're in row 3. We're in row 2. We're in row 1. And we are in row 0. Five, 6, 7. I want to do something else a little fun. Because we are no longer playing Pong against a human player, we can just smash through everything, which I don't know. I don't feel great about doing that. So what we're going to do is this velocity, we're going to add one more thing. So this right now is a straight formula. If we are perfectly at the same position as our ball, our X position, we are going to bounce off at exactly 0 X velocity. We're going to add a very small random direction to it. So let's give this a shot. So we're here, we get a perfect launch, and we are drifting. There we go. So you can't just sit and win the game or take out a full row. It will drift to one side or the other. Now, the one thing I forgot to do is when you call random, you need to actually start by randomizing. Otherwise, it'll always give you the exact same thing. You just need to call that anywhere in the game, and random will start with something new. So our bricks are breaking in the rows as we expect. Our next step is to stop printing and actually do something with this information. This is going to actually take care of our scoring. So this is just a nice way of passing up, because then this whole mess can get saved into a new scene. The reason we want to do this is because now we can delete and reinstance this from when the game ends. We just drop in new bricks, and now we are on level 2. So we can actually go endlessly. We have that little bit of float, which is nice. Not the same way every time, but it just makes it where you can't play perfectly without actually moving and adapting. Ooh, I like this. Get in there. Oh, that was... The problem with making classic games is classic games are fun, and I spend most of my time playing the classic games instead of finishing them. It's okay. We'll play around, add a thing, play another round. Honestly, this is a pretty good game already, but we don't have score, which definitely, well, so in some people's opinion, would add to the experience. I don't know if score makes a huge difference for me, but we'll add it in there because it definitely is a part of the original game. Oh yeah, that feels good when it just keeps bouncing in there. No, stay in there. Go back in, go back in. Oh yeah, come on, hang it. We're gonna connect these signals now. Brick, we're gonna have brick broke. Yeah, we can do this. On bricks, brick broke. This is quickly becoming a Dr. Seuss story here. On bricks, last brick broke. All right. On bricks, brick broke, you need to know what row, and that will affect things like score. Okay. All right. I took another little break. I'm back on part 4. We'll go part 4. I have our final checklist of things we need to do in order to turn this basically a game into actually a game. So first thing, I'm going to change the paddle color just a little bit. That should be enough. Oh yeah, much better. Okay. Next thing is score. So we have a game, we have a score set up that doesn't do anything. Actually, I'm going to duplicate that. That's just going to be called score. That's going to be called level. And we're going to do a third one called lives remaining. So score is going to be over in this corner. So we need to create a function here that will be, we'll go up above all the private functions. Level end. So for this next part, I end up creating a bunch of functions. I stub most of them out, but we have a level end function when the level ends, and for now it'll just print something. We'll fix that later. We call that obviously when the level's done, and then we also are adding a score function which will add a value to our score variable that we've defined up above, and then it will also change the text on the UI element. Let's check if the score is working. 0, 0, 0. It is not. Okay. Where is it now working? Script. We, I think, got it all the way to bricks. We got the brick broke. You know what? I know where it's not working. We didn't connect these yet. Did we? Node. Bricks, brick broke, on bricks, brick broke, on bricks, last brick broke. So if we're in the game and on bricks, brick broke, it would help if we called the function we defined. You get points for every brick you break, and for every row it is above the bottom row, you get an extra point. So 1, 3, 6, 10. Oh, well, I think that was 5. It looks like it's working. Okay, 27 plus 34 plus 42. I'm not going to do that math in my head. It looks like my score is good. We are, however, going to see if all of these can be aligned right. Okay, except for this one, actually. Level is going to align left. Now, if we play this. Okay. Score. If we get a really big score, it goes off the end. So we want to, well, let's see. We're dealing with somewhere in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 64. We're just gonna. Okay, it's not 512 per round, but I just wanted to calculate a larger number. We're dealing with less, so we're dealing around 200 something. I think we probably need a factorial in there if we wanted to know the real number, but 200 something per game. That would get us 1,000, would be 4-ish games. Yeah, there's no way we're getting into a million, so that's plenty of room. Okay, score's done. Next thing to do is a lives counter. So it's 3 a.m. We're doing it the easy way. Yeah. 3, 2, 1, 0. If lives remaining equals 0, and then we're going to have a final else. And this one, let's actually say game over. So we'll get a game over message as well. 2, 1, 2, 0. 3, 2. That was dumb. Okay, 3, 2, 1, 0. Play. Okay, we get 3 lives, 2 lives, 1 life, 0 lives. Last ball, game over. That's gonna have to scoot over more. We have plenty of room up there. We'll just actually move the life counter to this side. Then it doesn't, there's no chance of it contending. Okay. 3, 2, 1, 0. Game over. Unless, actually, let's put it back where it was before. But then let's extend it this way. 3, 2, 1. Game over. Okay, final thing I'm going to do is add some empty spaces. So they actually don't know if this is a monospace font or not. Oh, good, it is. That looks way better, I think. Game over. Okay. We are almost there. There's 3 things left to do. The first one is we want to cue free or remove the ball when we end the level. The reason we want to get rid of the ball is so we don't accidentally lose a life after winning the level. I was right, about 200. 288, okay. The ball was not destroyed, so we're going to let that go, which actually does give us a game over. That's okay. Stop, debugger, break brick, physics process, no output. Bricks left, 128. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh. I meant to double the density, and I never did. We're going to go with 64 bricks per level. This is half of what original Breakout had then. They had 128. Oh, good. We emitted our signal, so we're just going to let this play out. Let that play. Ball's gone. Okay. Level end. All that level end does right now is it says next level. So we need to call the next level. Okay, I am back in the future again. This is the last part that got a little fiddly, but we have a level end script completed. So we have, we'll get rid of the bricks, we will have a timeout timer, and then I played with this a lot, but what I ended up doing is resetting you to 3 lives. And the reason we do that is because the levels get harder as they go. The speed multiplier will increase every time. So as the speed multiplier, which is changed down here, goes up, you will essentially multiply a fixed speed factor by the current level number that you're on. Level number will increase. That's displayed in the corner. So as you are going up and up through the levels, this is the level counter, you will get a harder and harder game until eventually you just won't be able to continue playing. So this is a pure skill barrier. You're not going to really be gated by lives because you're always going to get 3 per screen. If you can clear it in 3 lives, then hey, you're great. If you can't, then you're going to have to go back to the first screen. So that's how that works. And now back to the past one final time. You know what? 1 second. It says the speed multiplier is still 0. I need to see if that is actually true. Speed factor is 10. You have got to be kidding me. It wasn't speeding up at all. That was really dumb. I just played that game for like 20 minutes, thinking it didn't feel like it was getting too much harder, and it turns out it wasn't at all. I could have played almost unlimited. Okay. Remote game. We are looking at speed multiplier needs to go up. And that is how placebos work. Goodness, come on. I just want to know that the score is going, or the speed's going up. That's all I want. Please. Just get harder so I could lose on go to bed. Alright, well, lesson learned on game 2. Don't start developing a game at midnight if you plan on completing that game in the same day. Yes, this is a Monday. Yes, tomorrow is a work day. Oops. Don't show this video to my manager or my wife, although she's going to review it and see it anyways. Yeah, you know what? Oops. We'll just pretend that it's not 4 a.m. How about that? Okay, speed multiplier 0. Keeping an eye on it. It is right over here. This is what we want to see go up. Okay, speed multiplier 10. Final check. Ball is at 600. Ball is at 690. Ball's at 795. Yeah, we are definitely. That is definitely doing what I thought it was going to do. I guess we're not actually 2, we're 7.7 times 7/8, whatever that is. Okay, game over. I think that proved that this works. So we are done. And the last thing to say is thank you. Thank you for watching so far. As I mentioned earlier, I'm still figuring out exactly how to do some of these videos. Next up is Space Invaders. I think I'll be taking more of a 1,000-foot view on that one, but I definitely will be taking feedback on how to edit these. I did learn that I should not have everything in the same single audio channel, so hopefully it will take less than 2 weeks to edit the next video. I definitely wanted this out a long time ago, but hey, at least we made it this far. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.